Gallipoli has shaped Australia's national identity. It has become an important founding legend as well as being known for its military landing disaster. It was also the creation of the Anzacs, who we still to this day celebrate every year on the 25th of April to remember the Anzacs who fought and lost their lives in the war. 1915 to 1916. The Gallipoli campaign was an unsuccessful attempt by the Allied powers to control the sea route from Europe to Russia to capture the Gallipoli Peninsula. Many people have been shamed for the failure of the campaign. During the war, Winston Churchill was the primary architect of the naval fleets, the First Lord of the Admiralty, and commander of the Anzac troops. He was praised for the work he had done behind the scenes to prepare the troops for war. However, many people felt that Churchill overstepped his position and has been criticised for being irresponsible and reckless. In 1911, David, a Turkish leader of the Ottoman Empire, wrote an informal letter to Churchill to ask for an alliance between the British and Ottoman empires. Churchill agreed to this, but Edward Grey, the foreigner, secretly overruled this. The reason he did not accept the alliance was because the Ottomans were a part of the Triple Alliance and Britain was a part of the Triple Entente. Edward Grey wished to continue the current alliance system, but if Churchill had managed to persuade Grey for an alliance with the Ottomans, this would have potentially broken the alliance system and the Ottomans may have fought on the same side as Britain. If this alliance occurred, Allied forces of Britain, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, India and Newfoundland would have not lost the lives of the 141,547 soldiers. An attack on the Ottoman Empire was in question, but where would they get the soldiers? There were troops in Egypt, Australia, New Zealand, India and Britain who were only half-trained and not yet an army, so Plan B came to mind when Kitchener and Ian Hamilton reluctantly agreed to send the 29th Division to Gallipoli, as well as the French government who also put in a division. As Commander-in-Chief, Kitchener appointed Hamilton as General of Great Distinction, because he had not yet a role in the war. Kitchener said to him, "We are sending a military force to support the fleet now at the Dardanelles, and you are to be in charge. If the fleet gets through, Constantinople will fall of itself, and you will have won not a battle, but the war." On March 18th, the Allied battleships entered the Turkish Straits. Fire from the Turks, as well as mines that had been placed in the water by the Ottomans, sunk 3 ships and damaged 3 others. Ian Hamilton was dismissed from his position due to the failure, and the command was passed on to William Birdwood, but soon after was in the hands of General Sir Charles Monro, who led the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force. After the failure of the 29th Division in Constantinople, the government prepared to flee the capital. In retaliation, Enver Pasha, full with confidence, said,
"I shall go down in history as the man who demonstrated the vulnerability of the British fleet."
Not long after, Grand Duke Nicholas of Russia appealed to Britain for their assistance against the Ottoman Empire. Another naval expedition was launched by the Allies to capture the Dardanelles Straits. If the attack was successful, the Allies could link up supply routes with Russia and knock Turkey out of the war. Hamilton ordered 6 simultaneous landings. At the same time, 2 divisions would land on the Asiatic shore and then withdraw to confuse the Ottomans. An assault would take place on the neck of the peninsula at Bula by the Navy. The first landing of the Anzacs was at 4 a.m. on the 25th of April. Small rowing boats cast off from the warships and headed towards the dark shore. On the way in, it all seemed quiet until several moments later when gunfire was aimed at the Allied troops. As they came ashore, it was every man for himself. The soldiers who were fortunate enough to make it to the shore scrambled to the cliff for shelter. Some troops suggested to Birdwood that they should evacuate, and Birdwood passed on the message to Ian Hamilton, but he ordered them to hold fast. Hamilton replied, "You've got through the difficult business. Now you only have to dig until you're safe." Kitchener and the government recognised that what they wished was going to resolve the stalemate of the war had only made another one. In October, Hamilton's successor General Monro arrived from the Western Front and came to the decision to evacuate the troops. But when the time came to withdraw, the biggest storm in 40 years hit Gallipoli, sending many men out of action. Despite this, the evacuation has been given credit as a masterpiece. A precise evacuation was planned in hope to trick the Ottomans into thinking that they were preparing for the winter, instead of a complete withdrawal. The plan had 3 major stages. In the first stage, men and equipment were removed, just like they would in winter preparations. The second stage was evacuating soldiers, but still having enough to stay and hold off a major Turkish attack. With only around 19,500 men still remaining in the two fronts, the last group of Australians left Anzac on the 20th of December 1915. Although the attack was politically unsuccessful, the fighting at Gallipoli had come close to breaking the Turkish army, which had suffered 87,000 fatalities. At the end of the campaign, it highlighted the weakness of the inter-service and the international cooperation in 1915, teaching Churchill and others valuable lessons in time for the Second World War. Gallipoli has changed the way Australians see themselves. At Anzac Cove, Australians won the world's respect. The campaign has given Australia credit that we grew up at Gallipoli. For the families of the men who were killed at Gallipoli, the Anzac legend provides comfort for them to give meaning to such a terrible loss of life.